The British Touring Car Championship is well underway here as we welcome you to the Silverstone National Circuit. It's free practice one ahead of this weekend's penultimate round of the championship for rounds 25, 26 and 27. Let's join trackside audio and the first practice session.
57.633. So 57.6s were the pace in qualifying last year. In free practice here last year. It's 35 minutes, but because it's their first time on track, expect the first 10 or 15 minutes to be relatively quiet out on track because the drivers are essentially, and the teams checking through the systems, checking things over in the cars, making sure everything's working, even down to the things like the team radio. So they won't be doing too many hot laps as yet for the first 10 or 15 minutes of the session. Then it will get busier, and it should get really busy in free practice 2. Which also has a bearing on what's going to happen in qualifying. And I know most of you know how it works. We'll go through it when we get to qualifying again. But I'm always conscious that there are newcomers to BTCC race weekends. So qualifying is divided up into groups and knockout stages. And the 20 cars that take part in the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship, after free practice 2, they're split into 2 groups of 10 based on where you finished in free practice 2, whether you finished in an odd numbered or an even numbered position. So if you were fastest or third fastest or 5th or 7th in free practice 2, you go in one group. If you end up free practice 2 2nd or 4th or 6th, you end up in the other group. Then the first part of qualifying, 10 minutes for each group. Fastest 6 from each group go through to the next stage of qualifying, so that knocks it down to 12. Those 12 then go in one 10-minute session for Q2. The fastest 6 go through. The other 6 get knocked out and start from 7th down to 12th on the grid. And the third stage of qualifying, the remaining 6 cars going to the quick 6 shootout. 10 minutes, times reset, and a shootout for pole positions. That's all to look forward to when we get to qualifying this afternoon at 3:35 p.m. In between the Mini and Porsche Sprint Challenge races. So I can see fair or few cars coming into the pit lane now. Welcome to those of you listening online as well, and lots of you tune in on a Saturday in particular if you can't be here on a Sunday. So thanks for joining us. You can listen via the BTCC.net website. Go to the live section on the website and click on live audio. Then you can follow the commentary across the course of both days. You can also, on that website and on that section of the website, the audio section, the team put up lots of interviews with the drivers across the course of each day, audio interviews, just to give us some insight into what's been going on across the course of the weekend and the practice sessions, the qualifying sessions, and all the reaction to that. So it's a great place to listen in online during the weekend, but also in between race weekends as well. Well, Jake Hill is the championship leader. He's the only one that's stayed out to set an actual lap time so far. Everybody else has been out, but come straight back into the pits, not crossed the line. Jake has, and 57.822 is the only lap time on the board so far. Rob Huff looks like he's going to stay out and complete a lap. So he goes from his out lap over the start-finish line. So Huffy is out there, former World Touring Car Champion, making his way out through Copse Corner.
And how good does Sam Osborne and Dan Camish's cars look this weekend? Napa Racing UK are really good at doing specials. Obviously, we had the support of the Race Against Dementia at Knockhill. They earned supreme money by selling exclusive tartan merchandise that weekend. And the Valvoline liveries on. It was Sam Osborne's car last year, wasn't it? And it's a new look to the Valvoline livery on the cars this weekend for Sam Osborne and Damish's car. Up close, those cars look absolutely fantastic, and everyone can get the chance to see them up close this weekend because we have the reverse garages, i.e. the teams have the cars nosing into the paddock and the doors are open, so all weekend you can get a really good close look at the teams working on the cars and the liveries.
Yeah, absolutely right, and especially down at Accelerators, Nick Halstead revealed online yesterday they've actually got a section inside the garage, so the first part of the garage. There's everybody invited to go into the first section of the garage there. Keep behind the ropes, of course, but you can see the team actually working on the cars across the course of the weekend.
They've got the biggest flat screen telly in the world inside there, and And also, Nick Halstead has been doing plenty for the fans. He does plenty for the fans all year with his social media posts, giving an insight into a little while ago how you start a modern-day touring car. Really interesting stuff. But he went out at Donington Park in the week in his old GT4 McLaren, which he competed in the British GT Championship, and he invited people to come along, and the first 10 or so that turned up said, "Can I have a lift around the circuit with you, please, Nick?" He just did it. There was no competition. He just offered that as an afternoon out. I think it was Wednesday afternoon. What a proactive chap he is, including the crazy carts, which we've had as a feature of the BTCC for 2 years now. This year it's all ramped up quite a lot, including the biggest ever crazy carts feature this afternoon, 5 o'clock. It's behind the grandstand, so I couldn't work out exactly where he was saying, but I think on the other side by the Silverstone UTC. I guess that's where it is, but we'll find out for sure later on today. What he described, I think it's on that side, on the other side of the grandstand. But they have had a number of site meetings here at Silverstone to build the track. It's not just essentially an oval, which is what they normally are. It's a full circuit that they've got for the crazy carts at 5 o'clock, including a tunnel with laser lighting inside. Can you believe it?
Proper job. No, he's brilliant, isn't he, Nick Halstead? And some of the technical insight and driver insight that he gives on the forums, online, on social media, on Facebook, for example, the touring car Facebook groups, is absolutely brilliant. So yeah, he really does bring in the fans and give them a terrific insight, and also gets them involved. And the crazy carts, since he introduced it, has been a firm fan favourite after racing is complete each Saturday. So huge fun event, and lots of the BTCC stars and other drivers will get involved in that as well. So that's at the end of the day today. Final race of the day starts at 4:45, the Porsche Sprint Challenge Great Britain. So that'll be done at around, well, by the time the podium is done, around about 5:15 or so. So we had a few more cars setting lap times. Jake Hill's 57.457, still the quickest so far. Rob Huff did a 58.631. And isn't it great to see Dan Zelos back for a second weekend in the championship? Dan, the now 3-time Mini champion, racing in the JCW Minis. He already wrapped up the championship at Knockhill. Got the opportunity, and he's been a long time coming, this. It's not just about having the talent, but having the backing and the funding to do it as well. And he got the opportunity to make his debut at Donington Park last time out at the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. Finished in the points, finished all the races. And Dan, currently second quickest in the session, is in the number 45 Hyundai, taking the place over the last couple of rounds of Ronan Pearson, who sadly pulled out of the championship after a difficult season. So Dan Zelos has had to be pretty proactive himself on social media to try and get the sponsorship and the backing to get here for a second weekend. Happily, he's been able to achieve that and got his place on the grid. And so Dan, number 45, good luck to him. He's certainly deserving of a place in the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship, having been dominant in mini racing for the last 4 or 5 years. Former Clio Cup racer as well, so he's been on the Toka package for a long time. Sun breaking out now here at Silverstone. Crikey, it's like September. So we've had a few nice days this week. It's been a long time coming this season. But it's been a good week generally, although I did have thunderstorms down by me yesterday, just to remind us that British weather is never that consistent, and there could be some interesting weather as the weekend goes on here at Silverstone. But it's Silverstone, and you can't really ever predict the weather, so we probably won't even try. We'll just see what gets thrown at us. But for now, we're enjoying lovely autumnal, late summer sunshine as Rob Huff crosses the line, goes second quickest with a 58.129, back ahead of Dan Zelos, who's into the pits. We've only had 12 cars that have set a lap time so far, but all 20 have been out on the track at one point or another. 22 minutes of the session to go. Looking ahead to qualifying, one thing that's worth a mention is that we've got a free tyre choice like we did at Donington Park. So you have the different compounds of tyre based on how hard the tyres are, the softs, the mediums and the hards. But in qualifying, a free choice. Soft tyre, you'd think the quickest. The softest of the three, the one that produces the most grip, doesn't last as long. That's with the white sidewall. If they've got a yellow sidewall tyre, that is a medium tyre. And the red is the hard tyre in terms of the slicks. For the race itself, or the races themselves, when we get there tomorrow, the prime tyre is the medium tyre. So they get 2 sets of mediums and 1 set of soft, which is the option tyre, which you have to use in one of the races. So one of the 3 races, you've got to use that. If you finish in the top 10 in race 1, you have to use for race 2 the hardest compound available to you. So if you get into the top 10 in race 1 on a soft tyre, then you have to use the harder tyre, the medium tyre, when you get to race 2. Hybrid-wise, the cars themselves, the basic power of these cars is around about 375 brake horsepower, but when they bring in the extra power delivery from the hybrid battery, that gives them another 60 brake horsepower. Doubled this year. It was, for the first 2 years, 30 brake horsepower. It's now 60, which makes a big difference. So that gets them up to well over 400 brake horsepower. And we know they've deployed the hybrid because the blue light flashes in the rear side screens of the cars. They can use it wherever they like on the lap. There's no zones where you have to use it. You do have to get to a required minimum speed to use it. But it is different rule for drivers in the top 7 in the championship, which is well worth noting. So they have to reach a higher minimum speed before they can deploy it. And they also have less use of it in qualifying today and less laps where they can use it when they get to the race tomorrow. So Silverstone and Brands Hatch India and Knock Hill are the 3 short laps on the calendar across the course of the year. So they have a slightly different grading than all of the other circuits. So for Silverstone this weekend, when we get to the race tomorrow, everybody out of the top 7 of the championship gets to use it for 8 of the racing laps, which is just under a third of the racing laps. The races will all be 22 minutes long tomorrow. But if you're in the top 7 of the championship, depending on where you are, you only get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 laps use of it. So Jake Hill, the championship leader, will only get hybrid for 1 lap of the race rather than 8 laps. Tom Ingram, who's 2nd in the championship, 2 laps worth. Ash Sutton, 3rd in the championship, 3 laps worth. Colin Turkington will get 4 laps worth, and so on. But it also affects qualifying this afternoon, because if you're out of the top 7 in the championship, you can use the hybrid for 15 seconds per lap, which is, around a lap where you can circulate in well under a minute. That's around about less than a quarter of a lap time. You can use it, or more than a quarter of a lap where you can use your hybrid. So it's a big chunk around Silverstone. 15 seconds for everybody else, but again in qualifying, if you're top 7 in the championship, less use of it. So the championship leader Jake Hill will only get 1 second per lap that he can use that hybrid. So hardly worth using, but he can use it. 1 second of hybrid, that's all he gets. 3 seconds for Tom Ingram, who's 2nd in the championship. 5 seconds, it goes up in 2-second increments. 5 seconds for Ash Sutton, who's 3rd in the championship. 7 seconds for Colin Turkington, who is 4th in the championship. And then 5th in the championship gets to use it for 9 seconds, which is Dan Camish. 6th in the championship, 11 seconds, which is Josh Cook. And Aaron Taylor-Smith, 13 seconds, because he's 7th in the championship. For free practice, though, use it where you like and try and figure out the best place to use it. And then you'll see them doing that a lot. And that'll be something they'll go into the data as well. They'll go, OK, this was the best corner to use it. That's where we gain the most time using the hybrid. Not that you've got many corners to choose from around the 1.6 miles of the Silverstone National Circuit. So Jake Hill, your championship leader. Good start to the weekend. It's only free practice 1, but he's quickest. But we haven't seen any mega lap times as yet. 57.4 is his best. Colin Turkington, the other BMW's done a 57.6 now. He's 2nd. And the other BMW of Alan Morgan, 57.7. They're the top 3. Aaron Taylor-Smith, 4th. 57.9, a 58.1 for Rob Huff in the pits, a 58.3 for last year's pole sitter Mikey Doble in the pits in the Astra, 7th Aidan Moffat, 58.4, 8th is Dan Zelos, 58.5, 9th is Darryl De Leon with a 58.5, and 10th Dan Rowbottom with a 58.6. We've had laps as well from Nick Halstead and Andrew Watson, Josh Cook and Sam Osborne, but the laps in particular for Watson, Cook and Osborne were not quick laps. They were fairly slow laps. Sutton, Ingram, Sumpton, Camish, Chilton, Smiley yet to actually complete a full lap around here. So Jake Hill quickest. His best season in the British Touring Car Championship last year, with more wins than anybody bar the champion Ash Sutton. Picked up 6 wins last year on his way to 3rd place in the championship, including victory here at Silverstone late on in the season, and finished 3rd the year before as well with 3 wins in 2022. It's some time now since he made his debut in the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship. Would you believe it's more than a decade ago? 2013 he made his debut at Croft. It wasn't a full season, he just made his debut in the series finale at Brands Hatch. The best of 11th place finish. That was back with the Motorbase team, the Ford Focus, and also raced the Accelerate Audi R4. But in terms of full campaigns and full seasons, didn't really get going until 2016, always struggling to get in the right car, get the right budget together to get a competitive car. And then 2020 was his first really positive year, finished 7th in the championship, despite having 4 retirements and a DNS from the first 6 races of the season. He had a horrible start to the season, but came back with 5 podium finishes. That was with the MB Motorsport Honda Civic Type R. 2021 with Mark Blundell's team, MB Motorsport. He moved to Motorbase, the Ford Focus ST, had an even better season, finished 5th, got his wins at Croft and at Silverstone that year, and then, as I say, 3rd in the last 2 campaigns in 2022 and 2023, driving the BMW, the West Surrey Racing BMW. Background in initially Ginetta Junior Racing. That was where I first came across him, racing in Ginetta Junior Winter Series, I think it was at Snetterton, and then moved up to the GT Super Cup in Ginettas. Was a race winner in that, and then did some Porsche Carrera Cup racing as well. He raced pretty much everything, and he can often be found over the last couple of years racing in historics as well. Loves driving in the historics. You see him in action recently, along with several other touring car drivers. Had a good battle with Tom Ingram at the Goodwood Revival. So Jake Hill, just about drive anything with 4 wheels, and he's quickest at the moment. Colin Turkington and Adam Morgan 2nd and 3rd in the BMWs. Aaron Taylor-Smith 4th. Andrew Watson has now put a lap time in. That's good enough to go 5th. Tom Chilton looks like he's about to start putting some lap times in as well, and completes a lap, goes through 17th at the moment. He's heading into Copse Corner as it stands, and we've got around about half the cars out on track now, so it's getting busier out on the circuit. 14 minutes of the session remaining. In terms of the championship so far this year, it has been very, very competitive, as always. We've got 10 different winners, so half of the grid have been race winners. Now, news on the timing screen, a black flag for Jake Hill. So he's been asked to leave the circuit. So black flag, straight black for Jake Hill. Could well be, I'm going to bring up the race control messages screen on timing if I can. That might well be for track limits. I think it is. Probably. He's had a few. Has he? Well, it's a 1 track limits warning that I can see on the screen at turn 1 at Copse Corner, which is where most of them have been coming, in fairness. Copse Corner, where you can run wide these days. There's no gravel track these days, but lots of touring car drivers get on the throttle early, go wide over the white lines to get a better exit down towards Maggots and down towards the right-hander at Beckett's, or just before we get to Beckett's. So you see 1 track limits warning, but he's got a black flag. It's normally 4 track limits during free practice that you are told to leave the circuit. So that is frustrating, I'm sure, for him and for the team, because they've still got 13 minutes of the session to go. He's now going to have to miss the rest of the session. So Jake Hill, the championship leader, has to leave the circuit with still just under half of the session to go. He comes into the pit lane. Tom Chilton puts his first proper lap of the session in to go 2nd quickest with a 57.481, only 24 thousandths slower than the number 24 car of Jake Hill. So he gets ahead of Turkington, who's 3rd, Morgan in 4th place. Only 1 driver yet to set a lap time, which is Chris Smiley, and he's on an outlap now, so about to get busier in the Cooper Leon. Mikey Dobler going over the start-finish line now, heading down towards Copse Corner. So pole position here last time out. He's one of 15 different drivers that have been on the podium so far this season. Of the 10 different winners, we've had 6 wins for Hill, 5 for Turkington, 3 for Ingram, 2 apiece for Cook, Huff and Sutton, and a win each for Chilton, Moffat, Camish and Ronan Pearson this year. Pole sitters, unusually, we've only had 4 different pole sitters this year from the first 8 weekends of the season. Colin Turkington and Tom Ingram, as I said earlier, 3 pole positions apiece and a pole each for Josh Cook and for Jake Hill. BMWs have had more wins than any other brand so far this year with 11 victories. Toyota have had 6 wins, Hyundai have had 5, Ford have had 2. And I don't what this tells you here, other than I think A, the driver is very quick, and B, the driver might have had a bit of bad luck this season as well, had to come back from it, because the driver that has gained the most places this season, that's gained the most places from grid positions, is Tom Ingram. 68 places gained, which is one of the many stats you can find on the excellent Inside BTCC website. Aidan Moffat, 66 places gained this season, and Jake Hill, 66 places gained as well. And the most places gained in a single weekend was Tom Ingram, 19. He gained, I think it was 17 last time out at Donington as well, but it was 19 at Snetterton, where he had to come back from a precarious position as well. An interesting stat is who's led the most laps this year in races. That's Colin Turkington. He's led 112 laps this year. Jake Hill, who's the championship leader, has led 90. Tom Ingram, who's second in the championship, 55. So Tom Ingram has led half the number of racing laps to Colin Turkington. He's obviously won less races as well, but he's had that greater consistency in terms of podiums and finishes. Ash Sutton, interestingly, third in the championship, has only led 25 laps this year. He's only had 2 race victories. So a bit quieter on track now. A couple more cars, including Mikey Doble and Dan Rowbottom, coming into the pits. Jake Hill, we know, is sidelined for the rest of the session. Chilton is in as well. Cook and Doble now in. So that's 4 of the top 6 currently in the pits. Still that early 57.4 set by Jake Hill, the fastest time we've had so far. But that is a fraction quicker, about a 1/10.5 quicker than the best lap time we had in the free practice sessions last year. So, impressive lap time. Tom Ingram's first proper lap of the session puts him 6th quickest. So, Tom, in the number 80 Hyundai, 57.906. Very emotional Tom Ingram after that drive where he dug so deep to come from the back of the field and get 2nd place. A terrific drive at Donington last time out. It was mega, and it was very much the drive of somebody knowing that he needed to dig something out of nowhere to realistically keep himself right there in the championship fight. That he did with spades. So we'll see how he gets on here this weekend. But again, he's going to have the issue of that lack of hybrid in qualifying on a short lap. How much will that tell? It's a flat circuit. There's some of the undulating circuits where you have the lack of hybrid, and you're trying to get up and down hills as well. That can, like Alton Park and Knock Hill, that can have a big effect. But here, relatively flat circuit. There's not much elevation change here at Silverstone, but it is a short lap. And when others have got 15 seconds of hybrid around a lap, which takes 57 seconds to get around, it's a quarter of the lap, and you've only got 1 or 2 or 3 seconds worth, then that could surely make a big difference in qualifying. So, on a personal best, first sector is Rob Huff at the moment. 15 seconds through the first sector. That's on the run. The first sector ends coming out of Copse Corner down before you get to Beckett's. So he's currently in 12th place. A track limits warning for the 222 car of Chris Smiley, who has now set a lap time, but he's still last in the session in 20th place with a 59.032. Comes across the line now. Is that any better? Smiley, no, is the answer. Stays on that 59.032. So we've got 9/10 of a second covering the top 14. But Osborne, De Leon, Rowbottom, Sumpton, Halstead and Smiley haven't yet really got going. It should be, and often is, one of the laps around the country, because it's so pressed around here at Silverstone, around the national circuit, that you get everybody potentially within a second of each other in qualifying. That could be the case, or that's going to be obviously split this year into the 2 groups for the first part of qualifying. Rob Huff comes into the pits as well, so he heads in now. His one and only campaign in the British Touring Car Championship all those years ago, before he went off to race in the World Touring Car Championship, mustered a 7th place finish in the championship. That was back in 2007 when he was with Seat Sport, having come up through the Seat Cupra Championship, and he got 2 wins at Brands Hatch and Snetterton, 7th in the championship. He had a couple of rounds ago, got up to 7th in the championship this year as well. Slipped back a little bit, but still having a strong season in 8th place. Reverse grid wins for Rob Huff at Snetterton and Knockhill this year. Points in all of the races for a very consistent period, actually. So he's only been out of the points in 2 races this year. That was the very first race at Donington, and then he had a retirement at Brands Hatch around the Indy circuit the second weekend of the season. Since then, Rob Huff has actually scored points in every single race so far. So that's quite a long streak of 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 19 races consecutively in the points for Rob Huff. I want to give a mention as well to somebody kind of flies under the radar a bit because he's got some pretty illustrious teammates, but at Napa Racing UK, Sam Osborne having a strong season as well. He keeps notching up points, and last time out at Donington, he looked very racy at Knockhill as well, but got into trouble in one of the races. But at Donington, he got 3 10th place finishes, and that as an overall weekend, that's his best weekend so far in the championship, with 3 top 10 finishes. So Sam Osborne, he's fighting for the Jack Sears Trophy this year, doing a good job, and he's in one of those, as Alan mentioned, very smartly liveried, the 2 smartly blue and white Valvoline liveried Napa Racing cars this weekend, Dan Camish being in the other one. Sam driving car number 77. Dad Pete runs the team, former Porsche racer himself. His younger brother Jamie, a mini racer as well in mini challenge racing in the JCW Championship. All right, just about 5 minutes to go in the session. Tom Ingram on a quick lap at the moment, 14.889 seconds through the first sector of the lap, coming through Copse Corner. So he's had a good start to the lap. Tom Chilton, though, has just gone to the top of the times. Quickest lap of the day so far, 57.437 in the number 3 Hyundai. So Tom Chilton goes 20 thousandths of a second quicker than Jake Hill, who's sidelined, having been black flagged from the session earlier on. And another black flag has popped up on the timing screen, this time for the rookie Scott Sumpton in the Restart Racing Cupra. So number 29, Scott Sumpton, now has to leave the circuit. So they've been very strict on the track limits here, keeping a beady eye on the drivers who are all trying to sneak an advantage, as racing drivers tend to do. Rob Huff on the hybrid comes over the start-finish line, doesn't improve his lap or his position. So we've got Tom Chilton, number 3 quickest, Jake Hill from very early on in the session, number 24 second, but out of the session now. 20 Colin Turkington 3rd, number 33 Adam Morgan 4th, 66 Josh Cook is 5th. Number 80, Tom Ingram is 6th. Number 88, Mikey Doble is 7th. Number 40, Aaron Taylor-Smith, 8th quickest. 9th is number 11, Andrew Watson. 10th is number 27, Dan Camish. 11th is number 1, Ash Sutton. 12th, number 12, Rob Huff. 13th is number 45, Dan Zelos. 14th, number 16, Aidan Moffat. 15th is number 77, Sam Osborne. 16th, number 18, Daryl De Leon. 17th, number 32, Dan Robot, who hasn't really put in a fast lap yet. 18th, number 222, which is Chris Smiley. 19th, number 29, Scott Sumpton. And 20th, number 22, Nick Halstead. Couple of improvements while I've been going through the list for Mikey Doble. He's just gained a couple. He's up to 5th now with his last lap. And Andrew Watson has gained a place up to 8th quickest. Track limits at turn 1 keeps flashing up on the screen at Copse Corner. So track limits warnings for 3 drivers last time around, including Dan Camish, Josh Cook getting a warning as well as he went through. And there are more and more messages flashing up, so they are very much keeping a beady eye on that. And you'll lose lap times when you get to qualifying. And another black flag, 3rd. I don't think I've ever seen 3. I think I've seen a couple, and you very occasionally see 1. Very, very occasionally see 2. I'm not sure I remember 3 people being black flagged from a Quick Fit British Touring Car free practice session before. And Mikey Doble is the last one who's politely asked to leave the circuit with a black flag. So that's Scott Sumpton, Jake Hill, and Mikey Doble now asked to leave. You can get back into the session after you're sidelined for a while. So Jake has just about gone back out. He's only going to get a couple of minutes of the session to go. Rob Huff crosses the line and improves, puts him up to 9th place now. That's a 57.929. exactly half a second covers the top 10 in the session, which gives you an idea of just how close it's going to be when we get to qualifying this afternoon. 2 or 3 cars down at Beckett's, turning off the Grand Prix circuit, going the way through there now. It's between Maggots and Beckett's, where they turn off the Grand Prix loop, come back on themselves and up the Wellington Straight up towards Brooklands. We can see in the arena there, as you see them coming into the left-hander at Brooklands, which is always potentially a great overtaking spot. If not down the inside, then hang it around the outside and get up the inside into the right-hander at Luffield. Lots of you on the side steps there watching the action. They come through there, come through Woodcut, and the Toyota Corolla of Rob Huff with its luminous yellow wing mirrors comes past the commentary box, goes through again. Doesn't improve on that lap, but it's another pretty good one. 58.1 seconds for him. Sam Osborne follows. Jake Hill comes straight back into the pits. So final minute of the session now. Tom Chilton and Tom Ingram also come in. So the 2 Toms in the Hyundais in at the end of free practice 1. Colin Turkington still out though, and Ash Sutton. So 2 quick drivers with 8 championship titles between them, about to go through Copse Corner. The BMW of Turkington, which at the moment is 4th quickest, and Ash Sutton, which in the number 1 Napa car is only in that Ford 12th quickest at the moment. But it's only free practice, so we don't know what they're all really going for yet, whether they're just setting the cars up for longer runs, trying things out. Free practice 2, you'd imagine there'll be some dummy qualifying runs there as they try to get set up. And Andrew Watson, who's popped himself up to 3rd place now with a 57.614. He's on a pretty quick start to this lap as well. Personal best for Colin Turkington through the 2nd sector, the middle sector of the lap as well. So he is pushing. He looked like he was. Clock ticks down to 0. Flag comes out. And Josh Cook is the first driver to see the checkered flag. Crosses the line. He's 7th. Here comes Colin Turkington. This could be a good lap. He crosses the line. Does it improve? Yes, by 1 position up to 3rd place for Colin Turkington. 57.475 at the end of free practice 1. Ash Sutton, who was right behind him on the track, didn't improve though. Did a 58.2, which was about 1/10.5 away from his best lap of the session. So a late push lap from Colin Turkington in the BMW to get within 38 thousandths of a second of Tom Chilton. So Tom Chilton, number 3 quickest, 57.437. 2nd quickest, number 24, Jake Hill, 57.457, 20 thousandths behind him. And then Colin